Hello, hello. Okay, so I think we are live now. Can you just let me know in the comments if you can see me and hear me? I just want to check all the technology is working before we get started. So does that all seem fine? Can you see me and can you hear me? Somebody give me a little thumbs up or something in the comments. And then we can get started. Okay, so I'm going to assume that's right. Let me just check. Okay, I'm going to assume everything is just working okay. I'm always a little bit nervous about the technology. So let's see who's here. So nice to see people here already. Hi, Ulrika. Hi, Francis. Nice to see you here. So Ulrika's from Germany. Hi, Sukhwinder. I hope I'm saying that correct. Francis from Belgium. Nice to meet you. Ulrika, thank you. You say I can see you and hear you, and Francis, I can see you very well. Okay, that's perfect. Always just a bit worrying initially. So let me know, how is the weather there? Today it's a beautiful day in England. We've got blue skies, which is really lovely after a lot of white sky. So of course, now that the children have all gone back to school, the summer is finally here. How about you guys? Are you having nice weather there? Oh, thank you, Sukhwinder. You can see me too. How's the weather there today? Cold, hot, sunny, rainy? Let me know in the comments. It's always interesting to hear what's happening in your countries. If you haven't met me before, if this is your first time here, then my name's Nicki. I'm an English teacher, obviously, and there I am in the picture. And I've been teaching English as a foreign language for about 15 years. And I really like to teach the kind of real English that you can use in everyday conversations. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's have a look what we will be covering. So today's lesson is all about jobs. My slides are a little bit slow, so you should be able to see that in a moment. So we're going to be talking about telling somebody your job title and where you work, and then also how you can keep a conversation going about jobs, because obviously that's what you want to be doing. You know, you want to be having these conversations and speaking English and making small talk. So how can you do that? How can you keep that conversation going? And then we're going to look at some positive ways to describe your job, or maybe some negative ways to describe your job, and how you can build those sentences. And then finally, we're going to look at some really nice get collocations. Get is a very popular word in English. We use it all the time. So I'm going to give you some ways that you can use that in the context of jobs. So lots to cover, and we'll be here for about half an hour or so, I think. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so, it's lovely to hear from you guys. Ulrika says the weather's very sunny in Germany, and Francis, yeah, it's a sunny day in Belgium as well. Lovely. Okay, so to begin with, I want to give you this really useful question that we use all the time. It's very common when we're talking about jobs to use this question, what do you do? Okay, it will come up on your screen in just a moment. What do you do? And this is a really nice way to just say, tell me what your job is, where do you work, what do you do? You can hear in the pronunciation there that actually links together when I'm saying it more quickly and naturally. It's what you do, what you do. Okay, you can practice that at home if you want, don't be shy. What you do. Okay, so what you do, and then we might say what you do for a living, just to clarify it a bit more. And that just means, like, what do you do for your job? How do you pay the bills? How do you make money? If the person is retired, then you might ask instead, what did you do before you retired? What did you do before you retired? And if the person is perhaps still a student, then you might ask what you want to do after you graduate. Okay, So, are you ready to practice using this question? If you are, then give me a little emoji, maybe a smiley or a thumbs up in the comments so that I know that you're ready to go. And if you don't like emojis, you can just say, I'm ready to learn. Okay, because in today's lesson, we're going to be practicing using this question and talking about jobs, and it's going to be useful actually for different levels. You can all get something out of it, and you're going to feel like you can then make some small talk about jobs. Okay, so give me a little thumbs up if you're ready. And you can also ask me that question in the comments if you want, just to get it secure in your head what you do. Okay, so let's have a look at some possible answers. Now, the answer is actually really straightforward and quite simple, but I still hear a lot of mistakes with that. So it should come up on your screen in a moment, my slide, but it should very simply be I'm a, and then your job title. I'm a, and then your job title. Okay, I think you've got it now. And I hear mistakes with that because people forget the article. And then also, if your job title begins with a vowel sound, then you need to have an instead of a. Okay, oh good, Ulrika and Sukhwinder are telling me, yes, they're ready to go. Okay, so, Francis, good, I've got some phrases for you later because you're saying that you're retired. So I've got some perfect phrases for you later in the lesson. So I would say, for example, I'm a teacher. Okay, and you can hear how that links together. I'm a teacher. But if I said English teacher, then I would need to put the an in. I'm an English teacher. I'm an English teacher. Okay. I actually have a whole video on connected speech, but just very quickly, the rule is if you're ending a word with a consonant sound and then the next word begins with a vowel sound, you can link it together so that it sounds really natural. I'm a teacher, or I'm an English teacher. Okay, so you can hear how that links together. If you still have a job now, if you're working now, you can put that in the comments using the structure I'm a or I'm an. If you're not working anymore or you haven't started working yet, tell me about somebody in your family or maybe one of your friends or someone you know. So I might say, for example, my husband's an accountant. My mum's a receptionist. One of my friends is an acupuncturist. Do you know what that is? She treats people with needles. Another one of my friends is a school teacher. My next door neighbour is also a school teacher. And another one of my friends is a chef. Okay, so if you're not working anymore, tell me about a friend or a family member. Okay, so pop that in the comments and I'll have a look in a moment. And another phrase that you could use instead of using your job title is I work in or at plus the place. And I want you to pay attention to the prepositions here. I work in or at with a place or a building, but if you use the company, then you're going to say I work for. Okay, so it might be I work in an office or I work at a school, doesn't matter within or at, but I work for IBM or I work for Google or I work for Amazon. Okay, so if you're still working now, you can tell me about yourself. Where do you work? And if you're not working anymore, you can tell me about a friend or family member again. So I might say, for example, with my brother, because I don't actually know what his exact job title is, he works for a film company. Okay, all right, so pop those comments in when you're ready and I'll have a little look. Okay, get right. So once somebody has told you what their job is, then how are you going to keep that conversation going? Well, there's a really nice question that you can ask just to expand on the conversation, which is, do you enjoy it? Okay, it's going to come up on your screen in a moment. And again, this links together. So listen to the really nice natural pronunciation, do. Do you enjoy it? Okay, do you enjoy it? So try that one at home. Don't be shy. Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy it? Okay, so you can ask with nice intonation, and that's a really nice way to keep that conversation going and make sure that you can expand on talking about the other person's job. Right, let me just have a look if I've got any comments from you guys. Okay, so Francis says, my stepson is a nurse. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and perfect use of this phrase as well. My stepson is a nurse. Lovely. Ulrika says, I'm retired now. I used to, and then you need be, Ulrika, but don't worry, we're going to cover that later. I'm retired now. I used to be an office manager in an attorney's office. Okay, so that little article there with the an. I used to be an office manager in an attorney office, but fantastic, and we will talk about when you're retired later. Sukhwinder says, I'm a truck driver. Fantastic. And my housemate doesn't work anymore. Okay. Okay. So is your housemate retired or maybe just unemployed? We've got vocabulary to cover that later. Okay, so you could ask me, for example, do you enjoy it about your job? And I would have lots of answers for you. And I'm going to tell you now some really nice positive and negative phrases that you can use. So for example, I could say, yeah, I love it. Okay, so just really nice and simple. Yeah, I love it. It's so interesting. I'm going to go through these phrases one by one. They will come up on your screen as well in a moment. Oh, and just to say also, at the end of this lesson, I'm going to tell you how you can get all of the slides from today's lesson. So you don't need to worry about writing anything down. Just stay with me, stay engaged, put your comments in the chat, and at the end of the lesson, I'll tell you how you can get all of the slides if you want to review anything. Okay, so yeah, I love it. It's so interesting. It's really varied. Listen to that pronunciation and watch the shape of my mouth. It's really varied, which means there's lots of variety in my job. It's different every day. And that's very true for me because I might be doing a YouTube live like this, or teaching a group of students, or I might be running a course. So there's lots of different aspects to my job. It's really varied. I never get bored. It's really rewarding. Okay, so that's a nice one to talk about if you have the kind of job where you're giving something back to society and you feel that you're doing something very worthy. Perhaps you're working with underprivileged children, or you're working in an old people's home helping elderly people. So it's really rewarding. And I can actually say that about my job because I get to help you guys, and that is rewarding. When I see my students making progress, it's very rewarding. Or it's my dream job. Okay, so if any of those apply to you and you like them, you can put them in the comments. Ulrika, for example, says, good, you've corrected your mistakes. I loved it because it was very interesting about your old job. Fantastic. I loved it because it was very interesting. So these are all positive things that you could say. And now let's have a look at the negative things. I dread going there. Okay, so that means when you have that feeling inside, like, oh no, I really don't want to go to my job. I dread going there. I can't stand my boss. So can't stand is just another way to say hate. So I can't stand my boss. Really useful phrase. My colleagues, pay attention to that pronunciation. My colleagues are awful. So the people I work with are just horrible people to work with. It's really dull. That's a synonym for boring. It's really dull. And finally, it's so stressful. Okay, so make sure if you're using that adjective to talk about your job, you're using stressful. Stressful. It makes me stressed. It is stressful. So you've got a whole list of negative things there. And then finally, just a few phrases that you can use for acceptance. So you don't love it, you don't hate it, but you understand that it's just the job that you have to do at the moment. So you might say, this is a really common phrase, well, it pays the bills, okay? And that basically means it's not my perfect job at all, but it pays the mortgage, it pays the electricity, it pays for my food, okay? It pays the bills. You might say it will do for now, which means it's not going to be my job for life, but it's okay for now. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And then some days are quite interesting or fun. So it's not perfect every day. It's not awful every day. Some days are quite interesting or some days are quite fun. And finally, you might say, the people are okay. Okay, so some phrases for acceptance there. So if any of those apply to you at all, you can pop them down in the comments. So Ulrika told us that she loved her job because it was very interesting. And Frances says, I love my job before because I used to meet a lot of people. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same about my job, Frances. That's nice when you get a lot of interaction with different people and it's very varied. What I'm going to show you how to do now is to take these phrases that we've just had a look at on these lists and to build them into longer sentences. So maybe screenshot this slide that you've got on your screen now, because you can then use those to build into longer, more complex sentences. So just bear with me one moment. I'm going to put that up on the screen for you and explain what I mean. Okay. So you could, for example, take two things from different columns, maybe something from the positive column and something from the negative column, and then you could connect those using but. So you might say, for example, it's so interesting, but my colleagues are awful. Okay, so you've got things from different columns, something positive and something negative. It's so interesting, but my colleagues are awful. Or it's really dull, but it pays the bills. So something from the negative column and then something from the acceptance column. It's really dull, but it pays the bills. So when you've taken things from different columns there, you're going to use but. And I want to challenge you to try that now. What applies to your job, or what did apply to your job if you finished working? Can you make a whole sentence like this using but in the middle? Or if you take two things from the same column, then you could use and to make a really nice long sentence. The people are okay and some days are quite fun. So we've got two things from acceptance there. The people are okay and some days are quite fun. Or finally, two things from the negative column. It's so stressful and I can't stand my boss. Okay, pay attention to my intonation as well. I'm not like, it's so stressful and I can't stand my boss. I'm really emphasizing, oh, it's so stressful and I can't stand my boss. Okay, so it's important in English as well that you're using your voice and you're using your body language. So try that if you can, to build a whole sentence either using but or and that will really create a lovely long phrase for you. So I'll give you a moment now to just see if you can put anything in the comments for me. Challenge yourself to a nice long sentence. Okay, so my example would be that my job is really varied and it's so interesting. Okay, so I've taken two things from the positive comment and I've connected those from the positive column, and I've connected those together to make a nice sentence. It's so interesting and it's so varied. Okay, right, so if you think of anything, you can pop that in the comments. And now I promised you that I would give you some phrases for if you're not currently working. So what could you say if you finished working, you're retired, or if you haven't started working yet? So if you're retired, you can say, I'm retired, but I used to, and then you want to have be with your job title, or you can use work with a place. So, for example, if I go back to Ulrika's comment earlier, because you had a nice one, Ulrika, you said, I'm retired now, but I used to be an office manager. Yeah, that was it. So you need to put the be before the job title, or you could have work in a place. For example, I'm retired now, but I used to work in a post office. What about you, Frances? Did you oh, you're a postman. Yeah, so you probably did work in a post office. So just a coincidental example. So Frances, you might say, for example, I'm retired now, but I used to be a postman, or I'm retired now, but I used to work for the post office. Okay. So if you are retired, you can use that. If you're still a student, you can say, I'm a student, but I want to work in, and then you want to use the industry. So it might be marketing, it might be finance, education, politics, healthcare, retail, whatever you want. I'm a student, but I want to work in, and then your industry. So let me tell you, whilst you're thinking of your comments and getting them in the chat there, let me tell you about some people I know. So I might say, for example, my mum's, well, actually, that's not true. Let me give you a true one. My dad's retired now, but he used to be an accountant, same as my husband. My dad's retired now, but he used to be an accountant, okay? And then I might say about my cousin, who's a student at the moment at university. My cousin's a student, but she wants to work in healthcare because she's studying medicine and things. So my cousin's a student, but she wants to work in healthcare, okay? So I hope that that makes sense. Okay, good. And then Ulrika, just coming back to the previous exercise, you've done a really nice combination sentence. It was interesting and I loved my colleagues too. Brilliant. Just be careful with that spelling, colleagues, because it's got an A in it. You'll see when you get the slides, because it easily gets mixed up with this one, which looks like colleges, as in like universities or schools. So it was really interesting and I loved my colleagues too. Great sentence. Okay, so if you are retired or a student, you could use these. And a couple more words that might be useful for you is self-employed, which means that you work for yourself, perhaps as a freelancer, or perhaps you have your own business. And unemployed, which means that you don't have a job at the moment. Okay, so listen to the pronunciation of that one, because it is really nice when you link it together with I'm unemployed. Sorry, with I'm unemployed. I'm unemployed. You can hear how that all links together. Okay, so those are useful for you too. And Francis says, it was a hard job sometimes. Yeah, just pop an S on the end, but I didn't change this for anything else. Okay, so you stuck with it, you could say. That's a nice phrase, Francis. You stuck with it. It was difficult sometimes, or it was a hard job sometimes, but I stuck with it. Or I didn't change jobs. Okay, Ulrika says, my son was a student and is an accountant now. Yeah, perfect. My son was a student and is an accountant now. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Good. Okay, so coming up on your screen in a moment, you're going to have some really nice collocations with get. Excuse me. Getting a dry mouth from talking so much. In the meantime, let me have a look at Sukhwinder's message. I love what... Oh, this is a really fantastic sentence, Sequinder. I love what I do, but it can be a bit stressful during peak hours. That's fantastic. I love what I do, but it can be a bit stressful during peak hours. Yeah, so the really busy times of day. Brilliant. Right, so you should have some get collocations on your screen now. As I said earlier, get is a really useful word. We use it all the time in English, and it collocates nicely with lots of phrases connected to jobs. Okay, so for example, get an interview or get the job. Okay, and you can just change get to the different tense depending on which tense you're using it in. So I might say, for example, I've got an interview on Monday. I've got an interview on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I phone you up and say, yeah, I got the job. Okay, or you might say to me on the Monday, I hope you get the job. Okay, so you can just change the form of get, but we have get an interview or get the job. Then if you earn more money, you get a pay rise. So if you've got more money, you get a pay rise. So you might say to somebody, for example, oh, I've been working really hard. I hope I get a pay rise at the end of this month. I hope I get a pay rise. Then we've got get promoted or get a promotion. So you can either use it here with the verb get promoted, or with the noun get a promotion, and that means exactly the same. So I might say to you, oh, did I tell you I got promoted? Or did I tell you I got a promotion? So a better job in the same country. You're going, same country, same company. So you're climbing the ladder. That's a phrase that we use in English when you go up in the company. You're climbing the ladder. So I got promoted, I got a promotion. The opposite, which obviously is not as good, is to get demoted. And that doesn't happen very often, but if you go down a level, then you get demoted. Get the sack or get fired. Obviously, that means to lose your job, so that's a negative one. So you might say, oh, I'm so cross with my son, he got the sack or he got fired. So yeah, that would be a negative one, and you just use got for the past. If any of these are new for you, or if you like any of these collocations, pop them in the comments and let me know. And then we've got get made redundant. So that means that you lose your job, but not because you did something wrong. So get the sack or get fired, it was your fault, you did something wrong. But get made redundant would just be that you lost your job, perhaps because the company was downsizing, or because the company went bust. For example, in the pandemic, a lot of people got made redundant. They lost their jobs because the companies closed down. And then finally, 3 more really nice connected collocations. Get holiday allowance, get sick pay, or get overtime, money for working extra hours. So you might ask somebody, oh, in your new job, do you get holiday allowance? Or how much holiday allowance do you get? Or you might say, oh, we don't get sick pay, or we don't get overtime. Okay, so really lovely collocations with get. If you like any of those, let me know in the comments, because I love getting your reactions. Okay, fantastic. So we've covered a lot in a short time, and I really appreciate you guys being here. And I just want to let you know how you can get the slides if you would like them. Okay, so if you are already on my email list, then you'll automatically get the slides tomorrow, because I'm going to send them out to all of my email lists. So you will get them if you're already on my email list. If you're not, then it's really easy to join my email list. Actually, let me just put the link in the comments in case anybody wants to join. There we go. That's the link to my website. So you can go there and then you'll see a tab called Gift. And if you go onto the Gift tab, you can sign up for my email list, which means that you'll get a lesson from me every single Tuesday. You'll also get my 40 favourite fluency phrases, which is great. And then if you do that before tomorrow, if you're watching this live, then you'll also get the slides from this. Now, if you are not in time for that, then you can just email me, and you can see on your screen there, it's hello@nickytheenglishteacher.com, and you can just say, I watched the replay of your jobs lesson, and please could I have the slides for that, and I will send them straight out to you. Okay, so to the people who are still here with me live, thank you so much for joining me. It was really nice to have your company today, and thank you for all your great comments. And just having a final read through. Okay, and I appreciate you joining me, and I will see you in the next live lesson. I'm going to shut down the live now, so if you've got anything else you want to add or any other questions, then I'll just give you a couple more seconds, because I realise that this is slightly delayed, so you might not be hearing this now. Okay, I think we are all good. All right, thank you very much for coming, and don't forget to stay in touch. Oh, thank you, Eureka. Eureka says, thank you very much for teaching. The vocabulary is very useful. That's great. You'll get the slides soon, Eureka. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Okay, take care. I'm going to go and enjoy the sunshine now. Bye.